The letter arrived unannounced. A thick, cream-colored envelope with my family crest emblazoned in gold. I saw it on my kitchen table, my fingers trembling, my heart racing. Inside was a formal invitation. You are cordially invited to Don Javier Mendoza's 65th birthday dinner at the Golden Oak. Of course, the most expensive restaurant in town. Elegant, exclusive, my family's favorite spot. Obsessed with appearances, the irony burned inside me like a secret I wasn't ready to share. I hadn't seen them in almost 2 years. Ever since the day I told them I'd been accepted into the MBA program, my father laughed. A master's degree in restaurant management. In 6 months, you'll be begging for a position at the front desk. I didn't beg. But something about that envelope made me wonder. Was it a gesture of peace or just another opportunity to make fun of me that night? I asked my assistant to RSVP. Yes, to the Golden Oak. I said with a slow smile. I think it's time they taste the truth. I chose a simple black dress, no designer labels, let them think what they wanted. By now, as I entered the restaurant, silence fell in the lobby. My family was already seated. My sister Sophia was touching up her lipstick. My father was reviewing the wine list with his eternal expression of disdain. I approached unhurriedly, without expensive dresses or grand entrances, just the daughter they'd once scorned. Mrs. Mendoza, the manager said with a bow, what an honor to have you back. Your usual table was occupied, but we've set this one up with your preferred lighting and the 85-pound red wine you always requested. The silence was awkward. Do you know her? My father asked, confused. Sure, sir, the manager replied. Mrs. Mendoza has owned this place for 7 months. My mother's fork fell onto her plate. Sophia opened her mouth, but not a word came out. I sat down, calmly pouring my wine. You work here, Sophia murmured, incredulous. Yes, I replied unfazed. In the restaurant industry. What's this? My father asked, his voice cracking. A joke. Only if you're the joke. Chef Luis arrived with a special off-menu dish. Compliments of the owner, he announced. Your opinion will decide whether we add it to the Monterey menu. Owner, my pale father repeated. Of this and 26 others in 3 countries, I said as I tasted the wine. Remember the master's degree they refused to pay for? The one they scrapped because it was only for waiters. Well, with it I created a business model. I revolutionized haute cuisine. Efficiency, staff treatment, quality control. The investors took notice. I opened my first restaurant in Oaxaca. Now there are 27. Sophia almost choked. 27, I stammered. 27, I confirmed. Including La Rosa Negra in Mexico City and Marisal in Cancun. My mother dropped the knife. But last Christmas we had dinner here, and you complained about the waiter. He was my manager. I smiled. You criticized him for his accent. The chef returned. Ma'am, the Banco Azteca investors are asking again. The answer remains the same. Tell them it's not for sale. I replied without looking at my father. At any price. Dessert arrived as the final act. A delicacy from Chef Luis accompanied by a wine that cost more than Sophia's handbag. Are we going to pay? My mother asked nervously. Of course, I said, standing up. There are no family discounts here. That wouldn't be a good deal, would it, Dad? My phone vibrated 3 times in a row. Texts from Sophia, my mother, my father.
Sorry.
We were wrong. We never imagined. I replied with a single sentence. Reservations made 3 months in advance, no exceptions. Sophia stood up desperately. Wait, I want to see the kitchen. Authorized personnel only, I said without turning around. Health regulations. You know, everything in the kitchen was precise. The chef showed me the menu for the opening in Guadalajara. I approved the changes, but my eyes remained on the window where my family was still sitting, small, without their usual arrogance. We approve of the new wine, the chef asked. Yes, I nodded. And she adds a note. The owner recommends a little humility. That night, in my minimalist apartment, yet overlooking the entire city, I reviewed plans for Guadalajara. A frame on the wall caught my eye. Unknown, underrated, unstoppable. I smiled and sent them one last message. Next time you look down on someone, remember that they might own the floor you're standing on. And below is a 700-word story crafted into 2 paragraphs, inspired by the provided text, weaving a narrative around the themes of humility, ambition, and subtle power dynamics. The story expands on the scene you described, incorporating the dialogue, setting, and the cryptic message, while maintaining a reflective and evocative tone. The restaurant hummed with the clink of glasses and the murmur of satisfied patrons, their voices blending into a symphony of approval. The chef, a woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for perfection, approached my table, her hands clasped behind her back. "We approve of the new wine," she said, her tone a question wrapped in confidence. I met her gaze, savoring the moment, and nodded. "Yes," I replied, my voice steady, a quiet affirmation that carried weight. She scribbled a note on her pad, a flicker of respect crossing her face before she turned away. Later, the owner, a man who wore his authority like a tailored suit, leaned in, his voice low. "A little humility wouldn't hurt," he advised, his eyes narrowing as if he could see through my calm exterior. I smiled thinly, offering no retort, but his words lingered like a challenge. That night, in my minimalist apartment perched high above the city, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, the glittering skyline of Guadalajara sprawling below. The city was a canvas of ambition, its lights pulsing like the plans I'd been reviewing for weeks, blueprints for a project that would reshape its future. My laptop glowed on the glass table, spreadsheets and maps open, each line a step toward something unstoppable. A single frame hung on the wall, its bold text catching my eye: unknown, underrated, unstoppable. The words weren't just a mantra, they were a reminder of every slight, every underestimation I'd turned into fuel. I'd come from nothing, a name no one knew, yet here I was, holding the strings to a city others only dreamed of influencing. The owner's words echoed again: humility. He didn't know the floor he stood on was mine, not yet. I sipped the same wine from the restaurant, its sharp tang a fitting companion to my thoughts, and typed out a message to him. "Next time you look down on someone, remember they might own the floor you're standing on." I hit send, the weight of the words settling like a checkmate. The city below didn't sleep, and neither did my mind. Guadalajara was more than a backdrop. It was a chessboard where every move mattered. The plans I'd been poring over weren't just business. They were a legacy. I'd spent years building, quietly acquiring what others overlooked, turning forgotten corners into empires. The restaurant, the one where the chef had nodded and the owner had preached, was a small piece of it, a single tile in a mosaic only I could see. The frame on my wall wasn't just decor, it was a declaration, a promise to myself when I'd started with nothing but grit and a vision. Unknown then, underrated still, but unstoppable always. The owner's advice about humility wasn't wrong, but it was misplaced. Humility wasn't bowing to those who thought they held power. It was knowing your own and wielding it with precision. My message to him wasn't petty revenge, it was a warning, a glimpse of the truth he'd learned soon enough. I leaned back, the city's glow reflecting in my eyes, and thought of the chef's note, the wine's approval, the subtle shift in her expression when I'd spoken. She'd seen something, maybe not the whole picture, but enough to know I wasn't just another patron. Tomorrow, I'd walk into that restaurant again, not as a guest, but as the one who'd signed the deed. The owner would read my message, perhaps laugh it off, but the truth would dawn when the papers came. I glanced at the frame one last time, its words a quiet fire in my chest. The city was mine to shape, and I'd do it not with boasts, but with moves no one saw coming. I closed my laptop, the plan secure, and let the night carry me forward, unstoppable.